Hey everyone, this is Dirk at DPG Off-Road, and today we want to talk about how to choose the best suspension kit or lift kit for your Jeep Cherokee XJ. We also want to do a review on our DPG Ultimate and Super Ultimate hybrid suspension systems, which are our most popular and we feel like are, for good reason, are our best suspension systems for the majority of people out there on the XJ. So the first question in determining what's the best lift kit or suspension kit for your Jeep is how do you use it? Because you've got guys that are going to use the Jeep for a variety. Some are off-road only, some are deep mud rigs, some are rock crawlers. But today we're going to discuss what I think is the majority of the people today is going to be the guy that's got a Cherokee that's a dual purpose machine. These are perfectly capable vehicles to drive every day, and yet the dual purpose weekend warrior, on the weekends we're on the trails, we're in the woods, whatever we're doing, we're looking for a suspension that will be able to do both well. There are lots of lift kits on the market. Price ranges from a few hundred to a few $1,000s. So how do you choose what is best for your particular Jeep, your particular application? Today, what we're looking for now more than ever, and I find finally most people have finally come to agree with, and your mileage may vary, but a low center of gravity suspension is by far more popular today than the big lift kits that we used to put on Jeeps in the past. In the old days, if it wasn't 6 inches of lift, we weren't lifting it. Go big or go home was how we did it. Put a 6-inch long arm on or don't bother. And that's kind of how we looked at things. We've had to rethink that for ours. And again, your mileage may differ. You may want to do something big, but we've gotten away from that in general. Now the vast majority of suspensions we sell are going to be in the 2 to 4 inch lift range. We can run anywhere from a stock size tire up to a 35-inch tire on a 2 to 4 inch lift. So what we're looking for, and most people are looking for today, is we're looking for the best combination of ride quality and handling. On the road, we want the Jeep to ride smoothly and be comfortable, not beat us to death, but we also want solid handling and cornering and off-road capability. And there's a lot of suspensions out there we see where you might get a little bit of one or the other, but not as easy to envelop all of that into one suspension that really does everything well. And that's where the testing over the last 20 years of building Cherokees. I've been building Cherokees for 22 years, something like that. I've owned a dozen XJs personally at least, not counting what our guys and customers, there's just been too many of them to think about. Varying years, we've tested and worked on countless suspension systems from different manufacturers and short arms and long arms, from budget boosts up to 8 inches of lift. So over the last 20 years, we've come up with some conclusions that I think now we've really settled on some things that I think really work well across a wide variety of platforms. So again, there are some lift kits out there that they might corner and handle fairly well, but they're just stiff. You've got to have a kidney belt and a neck brace to drive it, and a lot of people don't like that, and for good reason. Then there are some suspensions out there that are very soft and they ride pretty well, but they don't handle well, and every time you go around a corner, the Jeep leans and sways a lot, and it's very loose. So we really ideally want to optimize all of that. Can we get a good ride and yet good, responsive, sporty handling on the road and stability off the road? We really want to have our cake and eat it too. We want to have the best of all of those things, and we can do that today. So one of the benefits of low center of gravity is it's a smaller lift. Basically, the smaller the lift, the lower center of gravity. And that's going to give us flatter operating angles on multiple components. Control arms, drive shafts, track bars, steering linkages. The shorter the lift, the flatter those operating angles are on all of those components. And therefore, the more stable the vehicle is going to be, the better it's going to ride, given other parameters are actually dialed in correctly. So low center of gravity, again, has become very popular. We've really moved away from the big, tall dinosaurs we used to build, and we're bringing these Jeeps down with smaller suspensions now. And that smaller suspension or low center of gravity reduces the need for drivetrain mods, slip yoke eliminators, drop pitman arms, long arms, drop brackets, drop track bar mounts. A lot of those things we have to extend down to support that big lift and a high center of gravity. Now we're moving back into a more natural alignment and geometry on a lot of these components, and the Jeeps react better. Some guys want to run big tires, and on your especially 97 and newer XJs, the bigger the tire, some guys want to lift it taller to fit the bigger tire. We would rather bring that suspension down and trim the fenders instead, make more room for a bigger tire by making more room in the fender well instead of lifting the Jeep taller. Lifting it taller just makes a big tire rub less often, but it doesn't make that fender well any bigger. I did an extensive fender trimming video for the XJ. There's a link in the description below. You can see if you have questions about that. We deal with a lot of the myths and misconceptions of fender trimming, fitting larger tires on smaller lifts. Great video on the website or the YouTube page you can see. So again, smaller lifts. I've had multiple customers over the last couple of decades. One comes to mind, a guy called me, said he had a 6-inch lift on a Cherokee and he wanted to add a couple of inches to that. And I thought, my goodness, you know, 8-inch lift, what? I said, what size tires do you have on that Jeep? He said, well, I've got 30s on it right now, but I plan to go to 31s. And I just thought, wow, that's, I don't know what's going on there. I just personally would not want the extreme operating angles on all those components, and you certainly don't need a huge lift like that to run that size of a tire at all. So this is our 3.5-inch Super Ultimate hybrid kit. Our hybrid kits, we have our Ultimate and Super Ultimate. We have 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5-inch heights. This is our 3.5-inch Super Ultimate kit. Ultimate and Super Ultimate are by far our most popular packages. Again, as you can see here, 35-inch tires on a 3.5, and the 3.5 sets about 3.5 to 4 inches, right around in there on these packages. Plenty of lift for up to a 35-inch tire with proper fender trimming, lower center of gravity. These kits combine Old Man Emu, JKS, and DPG Off-Road parts to create a complete kit that you can literally install, get a front end alignment, and go. You don't need to buy more parts. There are no parts missing. It's really a complete package. Many of the lift kits, especially the budget-based ones out there, are just some parts that when you go to install it, you find out, oh my goodness, there's not enough to even complete the install. I've got to go buy some bushings or some U-bolts, or you know, they just don't have everything you need to complete the install. These kits do. They're comprehensive. You won't have to buy anything else to install that and be driving that Jeep and have it all there. These kits are available in multiple lift heights, multiple spring rates, multiple shock lengths. We have all the supporting components, brake lines, control arms, drivetrain mods, everything. We have these available in short arms with drop brackets, long arms. We can pretty much custom build any package. We have our hybrid kits as a package ready to go, and even within that, we can make changes to those kits, or we can build any kit. So here's a picture of our Super Ultimate kit, one of our most popular Cherokee kits. We have our Old Man Emu coils, leaf springs, shocks. We've got JKS disconnects, track bar, lower control arms, extended brake lines, the best brake lines you can get. We have our front and rear bump stop extensions, DPG extended bump stop plates, DPG heavy duty U-bolts, and you've also got your leaf spring bushings, our DPG disco cables. So all of the parts that you need to complete that install are in that package and ready to go. This Jeep, again, 3.5-inch Super Ultimate kit. I love this suspension. Again, this Jeep here gets driven regularly, and this suspension's been on here, I don't know, for maybe 5 years now. And I drive this Jeep, it'll go 80 miles an hour down the freeway. It's a firm and responsive and sporty feel, the way this one's set up. Again, we can set it up a little firmer or lighter. I like it a little firmer personally. The handling and the response. In a lifted Cherokee on 35-inch tires, it's not supposed to be able to do that. but it's very responsive and it handles and corners very nicely on the street. It's also very stable off-road. When we get into off-camber situations, it's very stable, great suspension flex and travel, but as firm as it is, still if I'm running down the freeway or running down the street or whatever, the ride is still smoother than stock. So we really have the best of both worlds here. After all the years of testing and tuning and running all these different suspensions, we've really settled on these hybrid packages as our favorites. If we're gonna build a Jeep Cherokee, this is the suspension I want to put on my Jeep, and that's why we market those today. They're literally our favorite systems. We've tested these extensively, this particular package, over the last 15 years on our DPG proving grounds, as well as daily driving and on trails around the state and different places. A lot of time, a lot of mileage has gone into developing these packages. And we think that you'll really like these packages. We've got a lot of customers out there running these kits that are really fond of these packages. Here's another pic of this particular suspension on the trail. You can see the suspension travel and flex that it has. The off-road capability is very high, it's very stable. Again, we've gotten away from the big, tall Jeeps. Years ago, I had a Cherokee with about 6.5 inches of lift and 33-inch tires. That's how we did it back then. I rolled that Jeep and destroyed it. And in an off-camber situation, rolled it multiple times, destroyed it. That really got my attention. I really wanted to start developing lower center of gravity. We really started testing and tuning and tweaking low center of gravity. We were kind of moving away from the big stuff. A friend of mine had a big XJ with 8 inches of lift. Cool looking Jeep. Everybody's, oh, it's so big, so cool looking. But I remember the day on the trail, we were going up a hill in an off-camber situation and turning back down. I had just gone through there, and behind me I heard a giant crash, and I looked back and his Jeep was upside down. I just went through there, he was behind me in that much bigger, taller Jeep, over it went. And the same's true on the street. If it's that tall off-road, you've got a greatly increased risk of rollover on the road. And we've seen, especially in years past, numerous guys with big lifted Jeeps that ended up in a rollover and totaling out the Jeep. So we really, our low center of gravity packages we find now, having run the gamut, run it on the big side the way we used to and the way we build them now, these packages will run circles around those big dinosaurs we were building 15 and 20 years ago. So we've really settled on low center of gravity as a philosophy. That's where we want to keep our stuff. I remember on our testing grounds with the Jeeps that we used to build, we would go up a certain obstacle and it'd be off cambered. We'd have a front tire, you know, this far off the ground, and we were just teetering on the edge of oblivion, and get to the top and get out and your knees are shaking and you're thinking, man, that was really off camber. And it really wasn't off camber that much. It's just the Jeep was so huge, it was so top heavy that the little bit of off camber at all and things want to start moving, tires coming off the ground. These packages that we build now will go through those same obstacles and won't hardly lift the tire or won't lift it very much. They're so much more stable that way. On-road and off-road, much better that way. So when you're looking to choose a lift kit for your Cherokee, it's up to you. It's a free country still when it comes at least to choosing your Jeep suspension. So if you want a really big suspension, there are some guys out there that that's just what they want, and there's plenty of options. We can do that as well. I don't recommend it, but that's your choice. The budget, the desired use, and the looks of the vehicle, what you want to do with it, that's all up to you. Personally, I would not cut corners when it comes to a lift kit. If you're going to alter that suspension and you're going to drive that Jeep, do it once and do it right, and you won't regret that. Spend the money to do it correctly. If I had $1 for every guy that called me and had bought a cheaper suspension and now they're pulling that off 6 months or a year later and putting a quality suspension on, and all that money and time is down the drain, I could retire at this point. And we made those mistakes 20 years ago as well. It's really worth it to do it once and do it right. So we can build any package. We can custom tune spring rates and all these parts to your particular Jeep. Even if you have your own parts or some of your own parts that you want to work with, give us a call and we can work with you to put a suspension package together that works best for your particular situation. If you have any questions or comments, post them in the comments section below, or just give me a call at DPG Off-Road if you have any questions. If you like this video, make sure and hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. We're going to be making a lot more videos, both technical and product reviews. So hit the like and subscribe button for those. So from Dirk at DPG Off-Road, thanks for watching. God bless America, and we'll see you next time.